She's young and she's black. And that means Aminata Toure doesn't fit at least two stereotypes of German politicians. Toure is a member of Germany's environmentalist Green Party, and she's the vice president of parliament in the state of Schleswig-Holstein. She was born in Germany. Both of her parents came here from Mali in 1991. And she joins us in the studio. Aminata, many thanks for your time. How are you doing?
Thank you, I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, thanks for coming, because you have a very busy schedule. But first thing I want to find out is, how is it like being the first Afro-German and the vice president of a German parliament?
It is absolutely incredible for me, but especially for the community of Afro-German people in Germany in general, I think.
But what makes it that special, you being Afro-German?
There isn't so many Afro-Germans in politics, so that means that we're not very well represented in the political system in Germany. And that's the reason why it is important that people like me, people like us, are represented in the political system.
Yeah. Now, as you rightly said, it's basically 1 in 4 Germans have a migrant background, but it doesn't seem like the representation is that stark when it comes to politics. Why is that, you think?
I actually do ask myself the same question, why is it like that? And I think this is something which needs to be changed, because I think the perceptions of how society works, of how politics work, is very important in the meaning of where am I from? And I think that we need to be represented in the same number as we are in the society in politics.
You've been very outspoken about many things, talking about equality, women's rights. One of the other things is the asylum policy. You living in Germany, born and bred here. What do you make of the current asylum policy?
I think we have still a lot of problems concerning asylum politics, because there are still a lot of things you cannot do as an asylum seeker in Germany. It's harder for you to get a job. It's harder for you to, you know, let your to work and live here, basically. So this is the reason why I got into politics, because I wanted to change some policies so that it is easier to start a new life here when you had to flee from your home and start a new life somewhere else.
What challenge do you think you're going to face in trying to change this?
I think that our society is mostly conservative, and I'm trying to do a progressive politic. And this is extremely hard, especially, for example, in my coalition in Schleswig-Holstein, where I'm a member of parliament. We are a coalition together with the liberals and the conservatives. And you often see that it's not that easy to implement progressive politics.
Does it still beat your mind when you think about that? You know, talking about 21st century, when it still seems a challenge to do such a thing.
Definitely. And I think that the important thing I want to focus on is that change is happening. And I see it from my own story. I was born here in Germany as a child of a refugee. I was living in a refugee camp for the first 5 years of my life. I never thought that I would become the vice president of a parliament. And this is something young black Germans will grow up with this picture of everything is possible because someone like me is in such a position of power. And I hope that more Afro-Germans are getting into such positions, because it's important for our representation in society and in politics.
I definitely hope so too. Now, one of the other projects you're working on is an action plan against racism.
Exactly.
Why is this so important to you?
It is important because structural racism exists in Germany, in Europe, in the United States, everywhere. And it makes that we cannot achieve whatever we want to achieve. It's harder for us to get jobs. It's harder for us to get a place to stay. It's harder for us to be who we are in this society. And concerning police and other structures in our society or institutions. And what I'm working on is that in our state, in Schleswig-Holstein, we are having an action plan against racism, and every minister has to find a way to fight against racism. And today was actually the day where the interministerial group was built. And this was one of the major points I was working on while we had our negotiations in our coalition.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. So is it something you always talk about, you being born here to Malian parents who came here in 1991? How important is it for one to remember their African roots? Is it a big deal?
Yeah, I actually always focus on being Afro and German, because I do not want to forget my roots. I grew up with African influences, because my parents are African, and we ate, we heard music, we listen to the history of the country of Mali. And this is a part of me and who I am and why I am who I am today. And I don't want to forget that. And being German is the second part of me because I grew up here, I live here, I speak German, and both identities are who I am in the end of the day.
Couldn't have said it better. Aminata Toure, many thanks for your time.
Thank you.